And I suspect that they were more interested in the camaraderie of the group than they were in playing a musical instrument, because almost all of them came to the band with no musical background, and it's certainly not bagpipes. My name is Jim McClelland. My nickname is Patch. There were 5 Jims in my family, so that was a childhood nickname that stuck, and most people know me by Patch. I'm 66 years old. I joined the Highland Band in 1958. I was 11. My father had been a piper in the band since the early 50s, which was not too many years after the band was formed. And I played as a side drummer, and then was drum corporal and eventually drum sergeant, which is managerial position for the whole drum section. And we coordinated with the pipe major for the music, and also did the drum scores when we entered competition many years later. They said there are 2 books that were privately published, and we have a copy of those here. One was called Swinging Kilts, which I believe documented the first 10 years of the band, and the second one was Skirling Pipes. And they're excellent histories written by George. And in there, in a tongue-in-cheek manner, he documented how they sort of backed into forming a bagpipe band with absolutely no experience and knowing nothing about the music itself. So it's an interesting and humorous story. It's interesting to note when I say about the 5 decades of the band and the change in the fabric of it, if you will. When I joined the band as a young boy, most of the members were World War II veterans and some Korea War veterans. There were changes with that, with the personnel and with the direction of the band. Post-Vietnam, patriotism was not held in the same esteem that it was prior. There was a lack of community esprit, if you will, for 4th of July, Memorial Day parades and that sort of thing. So the band began to find a different character, and that led it eventually into pipe band competition. And in their last decade, that was what most of their engagements revolved around. To compete in any kind of music competition requires a lot of hard work. And sometimes you felt like when you showed up for practice you didn't have your homework done. So it was a little bit different tact than, say, when the veterans started it and just did it for the enjoyment. So the competition required a lot more work at this than just being able to play, to show up and make the engagements, have a family picnic, for example, and go home. It took on, I guess, a little more serious note. And I think, and this is just my opinion, I think it began to fragment the members. Some wanted to go that route, some resisted it, some wanted to hang on to the old days when the band was just a public performing band. And I think it began to fracture in that regard. Other people have said that, like many organizations, free time became less and less, and that's a problem today with Rotary Club, Kiwanis, things like that. There's a lot more things for people to do. And this required 20 to 30 engagements a season, which is once or twice a week, every week, with your family. If you took your kids, you had to plan your weekends around it. And maybe people just got tired of doing that sort of thing. They never really said, we're just going to disband. They had a last Christmas party at the Pengrove, which was an annual event, and decided to go inactive, if you will. They kept the uniforms for quite a while. They stored some of the equipment. And then, in order to keep playing, some of the members joined bands in Pittsburgh, and the Meadville band, the Veterans Band in Meadville, has several of our old members up there now. And there's been several attempts and discussions about trying to bring the band back to Grove City, but I'm not sure, without a lot of local interest, if that could ever happen again. There's some old timers still left. When we made an appeal through the Allied News for documents and uniform items, we heard from one of the original members, a guy named Roger Clark, who lives down in Arkansas and still has family here. We heard from John McTaggart's son up in Maine. We heard from, in fact, we have bagpipes from Jimmy McCrae, who has family history here and played in the band many years too. So there's a lot of connections still there. Jimmy Nickum, who was a pipe major and still plays, and I think he's around 90. He still plays in the band in Florida. Dwayne Money, who is originally from Stoneboro, he lives down in mid-state now, and he still plays with a band down there. So it's kind of a lifetime affair. It's hard to get away from all that.